Welcome back to Student Hub Live. Well, I hope you're having a really fabulous day so far. We thought it would be really nice to see some of the spaces in which students study. So we've got a competition. Our competition prize is some lovely Student Hub Live merchandise. We've got these wonderful little Student Hub Live notebooks. And of course, because we love stationery, we've got Student Hub Live pens and highlighters and post-it notes. So our competition categories are the most innovative space, the most cozy space, best use of a small space, and an everything else category. And we will be judging the competition entries, and we've already had lots come through. So let's take a look and see a couple for now. If you'd like to send a picture of your study space, please do email studenthub@open.ac.uk. So the first one is from Abby in Southampton, and Abby is mostly bedbound. So this is how she makes the most use of her space. And all of the drawers have her study kit in it. And doesn't that look wonderful and snuggly and cozy? And our next is from Tracy in the Isle of Wight. And she says that her study space is never tidy, always filled with multiple projects, always fairy lights. That is a really lovely atmosphere, not just for Christmas. And she says that just in case everyone thinks they have the perfect space to study, you really don't. All you need is the headspace to study. And that is very, very wise, Tracy. HJ, how's everyone doing back at home?
We're doing extremely well at home. There's so much going on in the chat. So if you remember, like me, sometimes I can get lost in the chat, hit that red pin button on the top right, and it lets you manually scroll through and see what's going on. And if there is anything that we unfortunately miss in the chat, just email us studenthub@open.ac.uk, and we'll always be here to help. And we had a good chat about our study spaces as well. So Jodie sent in a picture of her study space, which I'm sure we'll be able to show later, which is just her bed at the moment. So just like me, when I started out, I didn't have a desk. I was studying either on the bed, on the bus, or I was going into work super early to use the desk that I had there. Andrea at the moment is studying on her couch. It's the best place for her that she's found. And I think that's the good thing about our study spaces, is that we can experiment and try different things. And going by our session earlier as well, Laura said that she loves the library already. So it's one of the first things that she explored when she got access to her student home. And there's so much support from the library. And we've got lots of questions about TMAs as well. So I know we've got a session later that will just be for everyone who's got those burning questions. And I've had some great tips as well. So Claire recommended earlier that I listen to binaural beats to help me focus while studying. So I'm going to put that top tip on my board. That's something that I'm going to try out this study year. And Vicky as well, another techie type of tip. She said, turn on high contrast to ease eye strain. So I'm at my computer working all day. So I'm going to give that a go, Vicky, and I'll let everyone know how that goes, perhaps at our next Student Hub Live event. But keep sending in those study spaces, whether you were like me working on a bed or a bus, or you've got a really organized space. I wouldn't want to show anyone my desk now because it looks like I don't know what happened here. It's an explosion in a stationery factory, but let us
Mine
see your
is exactly
spaces.
the same, HJ. It's an atrocity. Honestly, you should see it. In fact, you shouldn't. But anyway, I think we're making a good effort in terms of what people can see. So I think that's great. Right. Our next session is called "I Want a Degree and I Want It Now," and this is all about studying multiple modules. I've got Donna Loftus and Rachel Penny with us. Donna is a senior lecturer in history and is the Associate Dean for Curriculum, Qualifications and Partnerships in Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, and is also the lead on study intensity. And Rachel is the Director of Teaching in Psychology and Counselling. So both of them are very much involved in this area. Now, we've got lots of students here today, but Donna, how many students are studying more than one module? And what sorts of things are they studying?
So in this academic year, we have got about 28% of new students studying 120 credits. That's 260 credit modules at once. That is massive for us. If you think about 2016, we had about 17% of students. So I think we're getting a really, really clear message from our students. They want a degree and they want it now. When we first picked up on the increase in students studying more than one module, we sort of noticed it was happening in degrees like psychology and primary education, which sort of seemed to link to sort of vocation, training, career. type qualifications or motivations for study. But what we've seen this year is it's just diversifying. We've got students studying multiple modules on a vast range of qualifications now.
So why might this be? Is it just because we're all banned from going out the house?
That's such a good question. And we've thought a lot about the COVID effect. What else is there to do but study? No, I mean, this trend has been growing steadily. I mean, for a long time. I think we first picked it up about 2016, but it's just growing rapidly. Although I do think COVID has probably led to that rapid increase in this academic year.
But as you say, so much seems to be related to goals and careers. And I think that, very often if we want that career change, 6 years can just seem like a phenomenal amount of time, even though, and I speak from experience, it isn't, because I never thought I would get my degree and it was over in the flash of an eye, actually, with hindsight. But so people do seem to be having those vocational reasons, and time can feel like it is of the essence. But I guess, with all of that comes challenges. I mean, what can we sort of say, Rachel, about why students should study at a faster pace, and how they might sort of manage their goals and aspirations with the challenge that would relate to?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because as Donna said, we started to pick up the fact that students were wanting to study at higher intensity quite a while ago now. And it was something that I was noticing both with my tutor hat on and also then with my work centrally. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was understand what the experience was for students, why they wanted to study that way when the Open University had traditionally been part-time, one module, 160 credit or 230 credit modules a year. So we wanted to understand how it was feeling for students studying at higher intensity in an institution that had traditionally been part-time. So we asked a lot of students about this. We did a consultation with students and asked them about their reasons for studying and what particular challenges they might find. And what was interesting was some of the challenges they were identifying were ones that I think most students, and I'm sure many of the students who are listening today, will encounter at some point, especially things like time management. But in a way, if you're studying 2 modules, then it's just that increased need to plan. I remember asking the question, what's your top tip for students that are thinking about studying multiple modules? And the first answer back was literally plan. And it was just that kind of sense that that's something we all need to do as when we're studying. We all need to plan our time. But in a way, if you're thinking about studying more than one module at a time, you're going to need to be thinking about that even more, because you're going to be juggling assessment dates or tutorial times, or what different modules are asking you to do in terms of textbook chapters, which textbook, and thinking about HJ's explosion in the stationery factor, and having different notebooks for different modules and things like that. So, it was more that I would say the challenges are similar, but they're just at an increased level. You're going to need to pay a bit more attention to these things, and that's quite important.
HJ, have you got some questions?
Yeah, Ruth has got a fantastic question for us. So Ruth would like to know, if you start with 60 credits, could you study 120, so go to the full time next year if you wanted to pick up the pace? Is there flexibility to do that?
Good question. Rachel?
Yeah. And in fact, one of the things that Donna and I have been working a lot on in the last couple of years is about an idea of flexible study intensity. So allowing students to vary what they're studying according to their personal situation, or according to what level they're studying, or maybe what degree classification you might need. So, it's absolutely fine to start with one module in your first year, get a sense of how to study and things. And then if you've got the time and if you've got the situation where you can do it, to study 2 modules the next year. And so, once you're in the flow of it a bit, and then there's other students who might want to, if they're going up to 3, the final 2 modules, that's when they might want to slow it down again, because those modules are obviously the ones that count most towards the degree classification. And depending what your study goals are, it might be that it's quite important, that degree classification. And so depending on how you're getting on, and there's some people who at level 3 can study both modules and it's absolutely great and they still meet all their study goals. But for other students, they, with the more independent reading that they're doing and things like that, they might want to slow it down and take 2 years to do level 3 because they have particular goals that means that would be better. So actually being able to go up study intensity or come down study intensity is one of the things that I think is really valuable about what we offer at the OU, because we recognize that students might have more time one year than another year. And so it's really important that you can do that. So that was a really long answer to a quick question, but essentially, yes. And actually, it's great that people can do that. And obviously, if you're, if you need to sort of figure it out, have a think about your time. I think that's the key thing.
Brilliant, thank you. So let's see what people said when we asked, why are you studying and what's helping you stay motivated? So first, let's look at see why people are studying. So first and foremost comes career change, new direction here. Looking at self-improvement is another key factor that resonates with a lot of people here. Also things about enhancing understanding about things because they love maths or challenges or growth, fulfillment, enjoyment, prospects, psychology to gain understanding, success. So there's lots of interesting there for fun, exactly. So lots of really good things. But let's look at motivation now, because I think this is a key thing that's really important. And Donna, I'll come to you when we've seen the results of this. So the motivation for people is really there. Well, the music for some people, lots of music fans out there, and also the end goal, their kids, their partner. So these are things that keep them motivated. During things. Lockdown, interestingly, was something that keeps you motivated. I guess the absence of other potentials as well. But Donna, what sorts of things do students need to stay motivated and focused if they are studying 2 modules at one time?
Well, I think that the same motivations apply whether you're part-time or full-time. It's just keeping an eye on them and keeping sure you remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing. I think one of the things that we've not talked about that came out in the work that Rachel and I have done is the amount of younger students that just see a degree as a 3-year thing. They've got friends going to university, studying for 3 years, and they just assume that 3 years is what a degree takes, and they'll just embark on it without really thinking about motivation more broadly. But there's that huge section that are really focused on career change, and you just think that 6 years is just too long, and that's such a primary motivator. But I think, as Rachel says, it's your motivations will probably shift as you study, and you've just got to bear that in mind, that maybe you do want to focus on different objectives when you're partway through your degree, and that's perfectly fine, and may motivate you to speed up or slow down.
Brilliant. Now, we have 2 key start dates in the academic year. There are other start dates as well, but the February and the October ones are some of the important ones. So are there any barriers to studying more than one module that students may need to be mindful of?
Yes, should I jump in?
Yeah,
Yes.
please.
Yeah. So we know that it can be difficult for students who study 120 credits starting in February to carry on studying full-time equivalent in October. So those students should talk to their tutor, their SST, to get some advice. The other thing to bear in mind is any prerequisites or study order rules on their qualification. Students should look at their qualification and see what's coming and check whether they'll need any particular modules to study them in any particular sequence or order.
Brilliant.
It's probably worth also saying, sorry, just to jump in, that we've got 2 presentations of most of our level 1 qualifications, but when you come to levels 2 and 3, you'll find that those pre-presentations are very rarely there. So you'll probably be looking at studying concurrently.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, good advice there to look out for. And the student support team are the go-to people to talk to about all of those choices and pathways. HJ, I know you've got a couple of questions.
Yeah, so we got some really good questions, and I know some of these are a bit specific to the modules, but there's just two generally that I'd like to pick up on. So we'd like to know if you can study level 1 and 2 courses at the same time. And some people would also like to know if some degree pathways are restricted in terms of how many modules you can do at the same time.
Rachel, do you want to take that?
Yeah. So you can bridge a level. So you could study, say, your second level 1 module and your first level 2 module at the same time and do that concurrently, as Donna said. So that is possible, and we have students who do that. And actually, that can be quite useful for students who've started with their first module, feel they've gotten the swing of it, and then want to do that bridging. And the other advantage that has, actually, it has some challenges, but it has an advantage that means your last module, often the one that might have a big project part or a big writing part to it, you're then doing that one by itself, and so you can really invest a lot of time in it and all your study skills that you've been developing. So that's the advantage. The challenge is, of course, that as you go up levels, there are new expectations of you, and so you would be hitting those new challenges while you're still studying at the level below at the same time. So that's just to flag it up. There is a particular challenge of bridging levels, but there's also advantages as well, and it is perfectly possible to do that. And I've now completely forgotten the second question. Karen, can you remind me? Sorry.
HJ, what was the second question?
So what we wanted to know is, with some pathways, will we be limited to how many modules we can do at once? So I know a lot of people are doing the health and social care or nursing route ways. Are there specific modules you have to do at once and may not be able to do at the same time?
And the short answer to that is probably there might be. We know that depending on the subject area you're doing, some do have restrictions or specific requirements about study order or about what else they might be doing at the same time. So some people are doing practice, placements and things. And so there's a lot that could be going on particular subject areas. And that's where that conversation with your student support team and your tutor could be absolutely vital in just knowing if there are those kinds of conditions around your qualification. So definitely worth a conversation.
Absolutely.
It's worth
Now, yeah, Donna, final point, because we're really long on time. Yeah, go on.
Just got to look at the structure of your degree. It depends whether they're 30s or 60s, and think about the amount of time you've got. Because if you're doing 260s, you're looking at full-time equivalent, which is 32 to 36 hours a week.
Brilliant. That's absolutely perfect. There's so much in there. And I think one of the key things that's so useful for students to know is that there is that flexibility to expand or decrease that offering that's there, that we know that students are doing this and that there are academics who are investigating the impact that this has. And I guess, things are so individual and specific, not only to a qualification, but also to a student's circumstances. And so that's why I've got colleagues from the student support team next, actually, who can fill you in on the sorts of things that they can advise on. So Donna and Rachel, if we could leave it there, that would be fantastic. It's really important to cover the questions, and I think we've covered all of the key points here, but wonderful for students to know that there is that flexibility, that it can be done and people can survive the end of it and do very well in those circumstances. So thank you both for coming along today. Right, we're going to have a short break. I know there's lots of interest in our Student Hub Live stationery, so if you'd like to have the opportunity to win some, do email us a picture of your study space to studenthub@open.ac.uk, and we'll be showing lots more of those this afternoon. We've got some lovely pens. The pens say on them, which I really like here, it says, "Make your mark with Student Hub Live," and it's got a nice little logo. So I'm sure you'd expect nothing less cheesy from us here today. Right, we're going to now look at some videos. We've got a demonstration of the OU Study app and keeping safe online, and we'll be back very soon for our later sessions. So grab a bit of lunch if you haven't already, and we'll see you shortly. Bye for now.